Robert, thanks for being my guest. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime. So, Robert, since you have been covering the Air India case very closely, what is your take on the statement made by a former CIA officer, John Kiriakou?
It's a very intriguing statement.
Hmm.
I have a lot of respect for him. It's very impressive what he's done, and he has to be listened to very closely. But there's a few, I guess, considerations that
Hmm.
have to be taken with his statement,
Fair enough.
in that it's just a blanket statement.
Hmm.
There's no evidence, there's no sourcing, there's no how does this fit with what we already know. So it'd be sort of like a opportunity to pursue a line of questioning. Maybe even he's inviting that by saying that. But we have to keep in mind his area of expertise within the CIA was in a different area. He was in Iraq. He's familiar with Pakistan. He wasn't on the India file.
But Robert, let's face it, he is the first one to suggest that the Indian government could be involved. I mean, Zuhair Kashmiri, who wrote this famous book, Soft Target, he used to write for the same newspaper you have been working for all these years. So, how seriously we should take this?
Well, I think Soft Target was an incredible book, and the backbone of that book was the information that Zuhar Kashmiri, Global Mail reporter, had received from the Indian government, from the High Commission consulate, just hours after the crash, where India seemed to know exactly what went on, provide the
Mhm.
information. And I think that's sort of at the nub of how that information was conveyed. There was another source of information in, I think it was 2005, where someone from Indian intelligence released a book, a memoir. I have it here. It's called Open Secrets.
Malloy Krishnan Dhar.
Yeah,
Yeah, by Malloy Krishnan. Yeah, I've read that one. Yeah.
yeah, Malloy Dar. Where he was in Canada from 1983 to 87. And he talks about doing counterintelligence, surveillance, different work that was not appropriate protocol for he was officially just a counselor. I mean, it's something I guess we've heard through the years of foreign interference, and he talks about it there. So maybe there's what we're hearing now fits in with what we heard from Dar.
Hmm.
It's really intriguing.
Robert, did you ever hear those kind of stories when you were working on Air India about the so-called conspiracy theories or the involvement of a foreign government?
Oh yes. There were people that believed right from the beginning because of that phone call to the Globe and because they knew so much about it.
Hmm.
And the scenario that India described was the scenario that it seems the Canadian government, the RCM, pre-embraced and found what evidence they found to substantiate it. But there were always those that found other reasons to believe the Indian government might have
Hmm.
played a role one way or the other, or maybe just knew what happened.
And what is
Maybe
your
like
take?
they had their own intelligence that informed them of what was happening and didn't do anything to stop it.
And what is your take on the Indian government's decision to give visa to Ripudaman Singh Malik, the former Air India suspect, and also he was given access to the head of the RANW? How significant was that?
Yeah, bizarre. It's like that story hasn't been told either. There are so many aspects of this story that's waiting
Hmm.
for people to step forward
Hmm.
and let us know what's going on.
Now, keeping in view the recent incidents, including the assassination of Malik, then the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and the statement made by the previous Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons, how important it is to revisit the Air India case?
Oh, I think it's very important. I mean, it's the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history.
Hmm.
I think that the government should aggressively be pursuing more answers to
Hmm.
find out what happened. The official story has not been told. There's a lot of unanswered questions that we don't know yet. We
100%.
have to find out. We should find out before it's completely gone.
But Robert, what are the hopes? Keeping in mind that the Canadian government is trying to make ties with the current regime in India, what are the hopes for that kind of inquiry?
I take a long range view.
Mhm.
I remain hopeful that maybe somebody who knows something will speak out the same way that we have a former CIA officer who's raising it now
Hmm.
without being asked about it. And clearly it's on his mind. It's something that popped up. And I think that's going to happen over and over again until we get answers. And, I think eventually the story will come out.
And in your understanding, being a senior journalist, what are the merits in this so-called conspiracy theory?
The merits. Well, I don't think anything can be dismissed
Hmm.
until we find out,
Hmm.
some sort of definitive evidence or sourcing or testimony or something that stands up in court. There's always going to be alternate theories.
Hmm.
And I think you have to look at them and see if they stand up. If there's just someone who's generalizing on information they have, or just making a leap of logic, or because one thing happens, another thing happens, or whether it's somebody saying, I was there and I saw it and I heard it and I know exactly what went on. I don't think we can dismiss them.
Robert, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. It's a
Oh, thank
developing
you very
story.
much for having me.
It's a developing story anyway. We might have you back on the show in coming days. But is there anything I didn't ask you before I let you go?
Well, I look forward to what more information comes out and what this former CIA agent has to say, if he can back up with the statement he made.
Certainly. Take care, Robert. Talk to you again. Bye for now.
Okay, thank you very much.